Issue 168. At first I thought Sonic was saying that Tommy not only borrowed his guitar for some reasons never really explained, but also borrowed his jet. But then I realized he was using jet as slang for run off. Tails complains that Tommy wrecked his latest project, and Rotor says that he washed the dirty petri dishes, destroying any nanite research he had been going on. Gee, I wonder if he got replaced by an infiltrator. Why aren't they just jumping to that conclusion after the last time? It's not like him to be that incompetent. Sonic complains that ever since he got nanites in his shell, Tommy's been acting up. Did those nanites get to his brain? What could they possibly have to gain in mangling his character like this? And Rotor says that Tommy's constantly in trouble anyways. No he isn't. Meanwhile, Eggman says that he's got a lesson to teach Anonymous, and Adam asks him surprisingly calmly, "May I ask why you were deleting me, father?" It's times like this where I really wish that the comic had voice acting so I could tell if he actually emoted that or not. It's worth not having bad voices though. That's why I won't watch that AM yet. Of course, Eggman figured out that Adam must have been anonymous. Wait, what does he mean he knew the Destructix robots were cheap replicas? So I guess that explains it. They were never re-roboticized at all. But how did he find out? Did he scan their memory banks and find out that they didn't have the Destructix memories? He then says that the video hidden in them must have been fake. The robots were only there to get Tommy closer to Sonic for some reason. Not sure why he would, unless getting Tommy to fly was so important to him. I was also really hoping at this point that the Bunny's a sleeper agent plot point would be picked up. After some more panels are wasted on recapping what we already know about what Anonymous did, Eggman tells him, "Because I just watched you steal his Chaos Emerald and release both him and Ixis Naugus." So that's how Mogul and Ixis got free from the egg rapes then. That was anticlimactic. Adam says, "You've been spying on me, father? That is not very nice." Then comes some more recap wasting comic space, and after Eggman briefly mourns deleting Adam, Adam approaches him from behind, saying that he managed to download himself to one last place, and Eggman gets grabbed by what looks like a robotic turtle. He says, "You remember Tommy Turtle, don't you, father? He unknowingly has helped me spread my nanites." So did he roboticize and possess Tommy or what? Nicole tells Sonic in a panic that she's got a nanite infection, and then finally Bunny actually does get her sleeper agent plot point used, as her robotic limb forces her to be a problem. However, it's immediately dropped as she reluctantly agrees to Rotor disengaging her robotic limbs until she's cured to keep her from hurting anyone else. So she doesn't really, nothing's really done with this at all. It's just really quick. That was disappointing. Then Jules gets forced by the nanites in him to grab Tails, saying that he can't control anything but his thoughts and is to struggle to even speak to him right now. Sonic follows Jules, who warns him that he might be leading him into a trap, and Jules says that he's not able to say where he's leading him, but he's been there before. Some narration says the Nanite City, and Shadow rushes to Eggman, explaining to give exposition to the audience that he had been sent to hunt down Mammoth Mogul and Ixis for him, just to be told to come meet him, and complains that he needs to make up his mind. That was pretty amusing. Adam attacks Shadow, saying that a gullible friend of Sonic's has been the perfect hiding place, and now he has made Tommy even more powerful than the ultimate life form. That sounds pretty ridiculous to me, I'm sorry. This is the guy who destroyed an entire army of New Metal Sonic by just raising his hand. He puts Shadow in a pod as he wastes time in-universe telling Eggman his plan. He explains that with this technology, he somehow discovered that there's 7 colored varieties of Chaos Emeralds throughout the cosmos. How? Did he get telescopes with an extremely good zoom lens? Did he get a spaceship that moved fast enough to get to those places and back? Adam says that for his plan to work, he needs Super Shadow for his super powerful chaos control, and then Turbo Tails, the chosen one. How is he going to get a machine to force Super Shadow to use chaos control for him? Brainwash him, and then he gets unbrainwashed right afterwards to not benefit him? How'd Eggman know about his titles when he wasn't there for any of that stuff? He must have known, or Adam would have access to the information through a database. But fortunately, he explains a potential plot hole right away, as Mogul telling him all about Tails' destiny to bring about a great harmony. He says he built the Nanite city to hide this focusing spire as he puts Tails in a pod. He had freed Muggle and Ixis to keep Shadow busy until he needed him, and used Tommy to weaken the Freedom Fighters and obtain Tails. Eggman snarks his plan is more like convoluted if you ask me. Thank you! Adam explains that he knows through Jules, I guess from scanning his memory banks, that Sonic is in the city, being cautious of a trap that doesn't exist. He also says that while he knows Eggman remotely summoned his egg fleet, they will arrive too late. So is the whole Tommy can fly thing ever going to be taken advantage of? If not because of this, then that means that ability of his was totally pointless. Shadow and Tails wake up screaming in the pod as a green laser charges up above them. I guess it was siphoning their magical power. And Adam explains that with a shortcut through space-time and a beacon for the gems, he'll obtain all the Chaos Emeralds in the universe. And it just ends right there. In the next story, we see Antoine again. Hey, he's actually talking! He's actually being an actual character again! Is it just me, or has he not been given any dialogue since he returned to Mobius? And I've barely noticed. He complains looking depressed that Patch had destroyed all that was valuable to him. Then when Bunny shows up, we get another ridiculous flub of the French language. Amour would not have had an E at the end, and for the M part, it's either Ma or Moan. That's it. It would have been Moan here if that, because Amour starts with the vowel. Moby in French sure is weird. What the hell is with their long necks? I thought we got past this kind of horrible art. Anyways, Bunny confuses me by asking, why go to all that trouble? Was destroying all you loved a thrill? He didn't do that. Patch did. Why didn't he correct her? Then there's some interesting dialogue where Antoine explains that honestly, the evil twins were not so much mean as they were sad. He admits that he feels sorry for them. Naturally, since their lives are meaningless and boring and empty when they have no major villain to fight. So they lash out at Kentobor out of stress and boredom. I mean, you could even see it with Scourge being all bitter and apathetic about everything before he got his newfound confidence from his green transformation. Before that, he was all moody and never really smiled at all. Makes sense that all the other evil twins would also be like that. Look at Alicia. Sadly, he doesn't explain that part, keeping the development on his time with the evil twins to an absolute lazy minimum. But at least we get something. He says that while the evil twins have his pity, they don't have his forgiveness, and he looks resentful. And Bunny lampshades that he's starting to sound more like Patch, having gotten a little more bitter from the experience. He tells her that while he could go live with Bunny, chivalry demands that first he proposes. Then Sonic gives Antoine the news that he better go see his father quick. He asks Bunny sadly to come with him because he needs her, though he's reluctant to admit the needing her support part as he trails off before saying the word support. Also, Civic Play would have had a quotation mark between the S and the I. Also, I can't believe I forgot to mention it when I was reading that French photo. But why is he addressing his girlfriend with vous, the formal you? Wouldn't he be saying tu instead? Dr. Quack says that Patch had used a poison no one's ever seen before, and may be unique to his dimension. Bullshit, considering that he was sent to Mobius with Antoine's clothes. So he would have had no fucking place to have that poison with him when he got there. If that's supposed to be the explanation for why they couldn't cure him, that's a pretty pathetic ass pull of an excuse. There was no way Patch could have brought anything from his dimension to here. And of course I have to question why they can't just wish on some rings or the Chaos Emerald to cure the king and Antoine's father. Dr. Quack explains that he can hardly find traces of the poison now, even though it's still being a huge problem for people, so that makes no sense. Antoine's father says, "Hello, my valued son," and Antoine cries holding his hand while apologizing for being a coward and saying, "I let my jealousy divide the team in the past. I've been a failure to the name De Colette." Yes, you have, Antoine, but that's what made you engaging. That's the biggest problem with the way his character development went. First, he had all these captivating personality traits because he was a stuck-up snob who thought of Sonic as a commoner, and he was Sonic's rival, and he was also a coward. Then he lost the jerk part, so he was less interesting, because I couldn't hate him anymore, so I couldn't feel any strong feelings about him anymore. It's just like with Sally, it's more interesting when she's a bitch. And when he returned from Anti-Mobius, apparently he loses the coward part too. Somehow. I've heard it's supposed to be like him toughening up in prison because he was with the evil twins. But wouldn't that just make him even more afraid and stressed out? You know, paranoid that they were gonna kill him and stuff? Antoine couldn't take prison, that's ridiculous. Why would that make him braver? Maybe if one of the evil twins was giving him advice on how to act brave despite the fear, like Miles, who is theorized to act tough but is at heart just a scared little boy. My point is, now that he's lost the French coward part, because they wanted to make him less of a stereotype, he has nothing left. What's his personality now? Nice? Brave? So are all the other freedom fighters. This whole aftermath of the evil twin thing is the only interesting thing left about him, and they're resolving it here. By trying to make him a more sympathetic character, and less stereotypical, they made him stop being a character, and now he's just a generic guy with a French accent. Past this evil twin stuff, I'm not going to care one bit about him any more than I do with the substitute freedom fighters. He was a jerk and a coward, and now he's got nothing left. It's so frustrating seeing him wasted like that. I'm glad he actually realizes and admits that he let his jealousy against Sonic make him an unlikable jerk in the past, but still. Antoine's father tells him that he's very proud of him and Bunny says that she really was just kissing Scourge to make Antoine jealous, even though that wasn't foreshadowed at all. I guess her plan was to make sure he'd actually see it, but he didn't, so she did a terrible job. Like, Fiona said that she might have been doing it to do that, but in the actual issue where she was kissing Scourge, it didn't look like she was just doing it to make someone jealous. And the story ends there with Antoine losing his father and being comforted by Bunny. This issue is by Ian Flynn. The first story has Adam discovered as anonymous, which I guess should have been 100% obvious to me instead of just a suspicion because they both share the same first letter in their names. But the fact that Adam referred to Adam and Anonymous as like the third person instead of saying I at any point in that last text box kind of threw me off a little. And this causes Adam to carry out his plan to use Shadow and Tails' power to obtain all the Chaos Emeralds in the universe, having already used his nanite to force Bunny to lose her robot-sized limbs. In fact, Nicole forced Jules back into Eggman's clutches, and I guess he took over Tommy's body, roboticizing him. That was confusing. It feels cruel to say Tommy being killed off this way is a good thing because it removes redundant access baggage that steals dialogue and screen time from Rotor, Tails, and Uncle Chuck, but it's true. He wasn't unique in any way, just bland. I mean, he had an organizing skill, but that was only one issue. The story was interesting, all the planning Adam did. It was a little surprising he was being so evil though, since he spared Tails because he had fun with him doing riddles. So, I was picturing him to be the lesser evil to Eggman. They were kind of building up to something like that. There's too much recap in this issue, but otherwise it was exciting. And the second story has Antoine complain that his evil twin destroyed everything dear to him. He loses his father after admitting what an annoying character he used to be. And the only really good part of the story, he actually gives some depth to the evil twins by saying that they weren't really mean to him. Just saddening. If only we got to see that. If only we got to see why he felt sorry for them. Because if you just leave it at that, then some might think he's just having Stockholm Syndrome and then it's not actual depth. And the other part that really frustrated me is that again, of course Antoine was once a jerk, I used to really hate him, but at least when he was more of an antagonistic hero, he was interesting. Now he might as well not exist. He doesn't have any personality traits left. He's just generic hero guy. It's such a shame that they made him so boring. He barely has any dialogue anymore. I think this is the first time he's spoken in a really long time, and that makes perfect sense because he doesn't have anything interesting about him. So why not let the actual interesting characters talk instead? The story just frustrated me. And the long necks and tall proportions didn't help. I thought that kind of art was a thing of the past.